Hi, welcome to the Animators Corner. I'm Kate Spencer. I'm the producer of the show, and this is an inside look at the making of Dragon's Gift of the Night Fury. You're gonna get a chance to also see some interviews with some effects artists, animators, some TDs, a whole bunch of different people from the show.
And I'm Tom Owens. I'm the director of the show.
I'm Kathy Altieri, production designer on the show.
And I'm Simon Otto, the head of character animation on the film. And I'm the only actual animator on this panel.
In Animation Corner.
Sorry. In Animators Corner.
Promises to be one to remember.
Okay, I'm coming.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bossy.
The slipping on the ice thing is actually, there's a little bit more to it than that. It's kind of a subtle thing, but the idea is when he comes out in the morning and he slips on the ice, it's a cute moment for him to slip, and Toothless catches him like, "I've got you, buddy." That's the top layer of that thing. But underneath that, he slips with his prosthetic leg, and Toothless catches him, and it's a slight, subtle reinforcement of the notion that they really need one another, and they're not whole unless they're together. So when Toothless is gone, he comes out and he slips on that same patch of ice and falls on his back.
That shot took a lot of work.
This shot took a lot of work because it was one of those really difficult flying shots to get right, where
that leap to get him timed perfectly.
To get him jump over the rock and then land properly and almost miss it. And Ron Pucciarelli did that shot, and I thought he did a fantastic job.
The Vikings living on this island of Berk that we're getting to see, it's deeper in winter, it's cold, it's snowy, but really we're changing it by adding Snoggletog decorations. And we thought about the fact that they're Vikings. They are no longer battling dragons every day, so they have boxes of weapons all over the place. And they're fishermen. They're surrounded by the ocean. So we thought through what would this culture do to decorate itself. And so if you look closely, there's swords and weapons and axes kind of snuck inside of all of their Snoggletog decorations. And the name actually came to us from the director of the first feature, Dean. He came up with it, trying to stay true to the fun, crazy names that Cressida Cowell kind of brought to us in all of the How to Train books, like Snotlout, Fish Legs. And we thought Snoggletog fit right in with those and just fell in love with it.
One of the, I think, most fun parts of How to Train Your Dragon is when Hiccup is flying on Toothless. One of the things that effects has to sell and that we need to sell is Hiccup flying and the speed and the wind rushing towards you, and you're going through all this atmosphere, and that's all clouds. That's what we do. So I mean, the clouds in this film had to look good. They had to look as good as the Dragon movie. We didn't want it to look like a short. We wanted it to look like this is just part of the world. This is part of the movie. We wanted to just like give the audience exactly what they got to experience from the movie, and it was really important to us matching very, very carefully what the movie looked like. And like, as far as I was concerned, I put as much effort into everything I did in this short that I did for the film. There was no skimping, there was no cutting corners. We didn't just like stop stuff because it was a short. Like, you take what you were doing and you finish it and get it to look right. And so we're really proud of how this short turned out.
Everybody looks to Hiccup for answers to everything dragon related. They think of him, he's the guy. So
I mean, a lot of the conversations we had early in story they kind of went around, where in time are we after the movie, and how much time has passed since then, and Hiccup clearly now, however many months it is after the movie, clearly became the person that everybody goes to in questions about, how do we solve problems, basically, right? I mean,
he's becoming a leader in his own way.
Let's sing some Snoggletog songs.
That was depressing.
It was definitely a great thing to actually get to spend more time with the teens in this show, which we did not get as much time with them in the movie. And we get to see their changing relationship with Hiccup, who was never quite part of the group before, and now they're hanging out together. They're obviously all hanging out with their dragons together. And we were able to, allude again to the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid are still have that connection, and we see a little bit of that in the show.
It was fun to get to do a lot more with them in this show. In particular, Fish Legs. He didn't get a lot of love in the movie, and so it was fun to get him a lot more time to be himself, and he's a fun character to work with.
Yak Nog! Get your Yak Nog! Come on, get it!
The Yak Nog was pitched to us way early in the show before any of the animation was even done. It was just supposed to be this drink that Astrid created for Snoggletog, and the only thing we got from it was it's supposed to be disgusting and it's made from yaks.
I wanted something that was kind of lumpy and thick and gloppy, and I told the guys in effects, I was like, put hair in it and egg yolks and oatmeal, and they actually made a mixture of, I think it was egg yolks and whipped cream and cottage cheese and hair.
I actually made what I thought Yak Nog would look like. We got a whole bunch of curdled milk, eggs, cottage cheese, grass from outside, hair from an old doll, and just kind of made this big sloppy mess. Took a bunch of videos of it.
They filmed pouring it out, so they could get reference for what the Yak Nog wound up looking like. And it's super gross, and it makes me laugh every time I see it.
Okay, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I just couldn't stop thinking about what Tough Nut said last night. Toothless can't come and go like the other dragons, and that's just not fair. I was up all night, and I think I found a way to fix that.
No way! You built him a new tail? So he's gonna be able to...
Hiccup places this new appendage onto Toothless's tail. And the director, Tom Owens, wanted Toothless to really feel like there was this foreign object on his tail and really get a sense of how he would react to it. So since it was my job to try to make that happen, I thought a lot about my cat, Figgy. I figured the perfect way I can sort of like find that performance is if I put like a foreign object on my cat. So I ended up taking duct tape and rolling it into a little ball, and I just stuck it to his tail. And the way he reacted to it is the way, for the most part, how the shot ended up with Toothless sort of spinning backwards and trying to kind of evade his own tail while recklessly swinging it around and having, Hiccup duck underneath the tail. So, and a funny thing is that my cat's performance was really close to some of the storyboard drawings that Tom came up with. So it was kind of like, it was perfect the way it all came together. And I think Tom was pleased with the results, and I was happy with the shot. But thanks to my cat.
Another scene that took a lot of doing over and over and over, which was a struggle, was this one here, where he sits up in bed. And I wanted it to look really mechanical, which it just struck me as really funny. And
I knew you'd come out.
Morning, son!
The beard was originally developed on the movie by Sean Nolan, who then came onto this show as well to help us rig up some of the characters, and it was a very small team that in rigging that helped us create the additional characters, and that beard took about a year and a half to develop and recreate it and work well.
Well, it's been 3 days, Dad. I just thought Toothless would be back.
with Hiccup and his father, I like Stoic being stoic. I like him being very reserved. Like, he's the type of dad that's it's not easy for him to say stuff. And I like the idea that he'd be very reserved, and as soon as it's over, as soon as he's gotten everything off his chest, it's like he can't get away from that situation fast enough, so he slaps him like, all right, I'm out of here. This is something that my dad used to do to me, is like, all right, good job, slap, and he'd really whack me, and I'd be like, wow. It seems like, a love tap from a bear. It's like, it's more than you expect.
Oh, Fish Legs, you hungry? There's enough fish there to feed.
I think we had a really great opportunity here to personalize some of the teens' dragons, you get to see a great connection between Astrid and her dragon Stormfly. You see Fish Legs and his dragon Meatlug, which, you know, Fish Legs is very close to Meatlug, and so close, in fact, that he was going to lock him up over letting him fly away or go anywhere without him. And it becomes a connection that is similar to Hiccup and Toothless. They're not just pets to them, they're really becoming part of the family. We did talk about that feeling of your dog gets outside the back door, you know, for a split second that it's open and disappears, and that fear that you have and the feeling of missing this member of your family, and you don't know where he is or when he's coming back, and you kind of feel helpless and don't know what to do. And the Vikings are now that close to their dragons and have that feeling. We understand that, you know, pet owners or people who have dogs and have that same feeling would understand that.
The dragon laid eggs. Hey, wait. I bet that's why the dragons left, to lay their eggs.
This is a great bit. Ron did. Okay, that actually makes it's a great expression.
Yeah.
And Snotlot's awesome here.
So how many, we went through, we probably designed 12 different variations of how to wrap an egg.
Oh, at least, absolutely.
And ended up, I think, using 3.
Yeah. The whole art department ganged up on it.
Yes.
Whoa! Meatlock, where are you taking me? Ah!
The biggest crowd shot we worked on was called the Rookery. That's the island where all the dragons go when they have their babies. In that shot, there's about 2,000 dragons. There's maybe 2/3 of them are babies and about 1/3 are adults. And you can see adults flying, you can see them lying on the rocks, kind of like seals. We looked at a lot of different reference. We looked at flocks of buffaloes, how they would run. We looked at seals lying around. The dragons on the island are mostly lying around because they're tired, and the idea is they're nesting with their families. They've just had babies, and you might see babies running around them, and you'll see a lot of babies clustered around what we like to call the parents.
The mother Gronkle is pushing her eggs. She's at the rookery and she's pushing her eggs into a pool of water. So, you know, when the eggs hatch, explode, you know, all the explosion is contained in the water. That whole sequence of 3 shots was really challenging for the department. We had reference of, went to the pool at work, brought an underwater camera with us. We had people diving into the pool. We filmed it underneath, catching them, watching all the reference of the bubbles coming down. And found, I don't know how, found reference of dynamite exploding underwater and this huge vapor bubble that it creates. And yeah, just trying to get that look and that feel without, you know, looking like some, you know, it's a fine line you tread between making a really cool explosion and making a really cool explosion that doesn't look like it's going to kill everybody who's within 2 feet of it.
Ow! Surprise!
John Wake did a lot of the surfacing. Wu Jin was our hero when it came to changing the colors around on the babies. We made them a little bit more festive, a little bit more colorful than the adults.
Mm-hmm. We definitely tried to stay true to the dragon feel while making them cute. It was definitely a challenge.
Yeah. We worked so hard on those houses, and then Anthony Field, who's head of effects, goes and blows them up with these eggs. It's pretty extraordinary when you get a shot like this where you back out and you see this tree just completely engulfed in flames. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they get the sense of scale and the power and the humor to those explosions. They're really silly. Mm-hmm. They really did a great job on those.
Toothless!
My name is JJ. I'm a character technical director, which means we set up the characters so that they're animatable. We put in the controls for the animators, and we make sure that the characters deform in a fashion that's both aesthetically pleasing and correct. On Gift of the Night Fury, we have baby dragons now, which are new, and the way we approached making those was we took the adult dragons and we essentially scaled them down to start off with. From there, the art director and production designer decided on proportion changes. You know, typically younger creatures have bigger heads, bigger feet, and stuff like that. So starting with perfectly scaled versions of the adult dragons, we then were able to create these really cute looking baby dragons.
I'll see you all back on Berk when you're good and ready. Okay, gang?
The crowd supervisor is in charge of what we call crowd shots. A crowd shot is anytime you have multiple characters on screen, or many more than a human could animate by himself. So when you see large flocks of dragons or lots of babies running, that's when we come into play. We'll take traditional animation and we loop it, is what we call it, or we play it as a cycle. So you'll see the same animation played over and over again. However, we'll alter it slightly. We might flip it around, we might shift it a little bit. There might be a little bit of a turn added to the character. Anyway, so that you can't tell that the animation's being repeated.
Gobber, this is a disaster.
Ugh, it's not so bad.
Well, not that bad. The village is destroyed. The dragons have got it left.
I love this. I love this scene of him coming out and noticing that everybody's not working.
What is that?
The big Viking ship returning at the end of the piece was pretty tricky. One of the hardest challenges was working with another department, or what we call our CFX department, because the ropes were done by CFX and they had to connect to the boat. The boat was animated by the animation department, but the dragons were all animated by us. One of the hardest challenges was to make sure that the dragons don't collide with each other. The dragons, when they flap their wings, their wingspan is very large, but the director also wanted the dragons clustered together so it looked like a strand of balloons holding up the boat. So again, it was a lot of back and forth, some placement, getting things closer together, finding that it didn't work, holding them further apart, working back and forth until we hit something that looked correct.
I think this is one of the hardest sequences to light. Anne-Marie Koenig's team pulled it together. It's fighting with a few light sources. We've got the torches and the snoggle balls in the village and the moonlight coming in from the outside, and it was one of the last sequences to come into production, so we were really pushed against the gun on this one. It came out beautifully, though.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And so is this next one right here. That's beautiful.
Really
This was,
magical.
You know, we started talking about the lighting way back at the beginning of this thing, and I think this is one of our first, the conversations we had about that warm party.
Yeah, we'd all pulled some photo reference and agreed that there is sort of a magical, sparkly look that we wanted to the mead hall. And it was the first time we've decorated the mead hall, so that was really nice. And Susan's team did an amazing job. I think Antoine lit the whole thing himself.
Astrid, where did Toothless go?
This idea that Astrid just sees Toothless first was always in the story, but the idea that she then takes the opportunity to play a gag on Hiccup and tease him, that came from Bill Damashki. He suggested, man, she should tease him, like, you brought everybody's dragon back but yours. That's a funny idea. And all of this animation of Toothless approaching is gorgeous.
The lead animator on Toothless in the film, in the feature film, really referenced his cat a lot and did a lot of made Toothless into a big cat, and I kind of like to put more dog and more rabbit into Toothless than other people do, just because those are my favorite pets. There have to be hundreds of controls in Toothless's face alone, and you have to use all of them if you want to make him look alive and fleshy. A great example of when I had to do that was when he was rolling Hiccup's helmet around in his mouth at the end, right before he plops it on his head, and just getting the horns of the helmet interacting with his lips. It involves moving hundreds of controls.
The reunion scene where Toothless wants this tail over the new one was one of the first things. That was kind of the inspiration for the whole thing. I wanted to see Hiccup give Toothless independent flight and Toothless decide, I don't want this. I want to need and be around you. I want to need you to fly. Because I think there's something really lovable about a character that I've done something that I think is wrong just because I really want to be with you.
Even when it was still just storyboards, I felt like that was the most powerful moment in the whole short. Just how Toothless could non-verbally tell Hiccup that the only thing he wanted was to be ridden by him is incredibly sweet. It was a lot of fun to animate and extremely challenging, but the love was all there. It was a fantastic scene to be able to work on.
I've bungee jumped before and I've skydived before, and I really love the sensation of falling. And I thought, man, if I had a dragon, that would absolutely be something I would do on a regular basis, is just jump off. So then we developed it further. It wasn't just a scene that comes out of nowhere. The idea at the very beginning when he jumps over that rock, it's like they've been working on coming apart for a while, and it's not going so well, and at the end it's kind of the culmination of a lot of practice.
That year I gave my best friend a pretty great gift.
So thank you very much for joining us, and hope you like the show as much as we had fun making it. Happy Snoggle Talk.
Happy Snoggle Talk.
Snoggle
Happy
Talk.
Snuggle Tog.